Welcome to Arinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. I'm your host Arinda, and today we're talking about Doctor Who with Jonathan Ford and Jacco here. Welcome, Jonathan and Jacco. Nice to have you guys here again.
Yeah, it's for me it's already I'm Jacco obviously, and for me it's the third podcast already. I'm joining with you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're really going to start becoming a regular here.
Yeah. Yep, I have my own seat.
And it's my second, so yes, nice to be with Jacco as well, who I've met. Yes, it's great, and who I last saw a year or two ago now. So it's nice to hear you, Jacco, and be involved. Yes.
It's nice to have people around who say, "Oh, I know someone else who you're gonna like, and he also likes sci-fi or fantasy," and take a contact with him. So that's how I met Jacco.
Excellent. Yeah.
So this is really nice. Today we are going to talk about Doctor Who. I think that's just one you two really love to talk about.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I can talk for hours about that. So don't worry, we can fill up your podcast easily. With that.
So I think there will be more parts of Doctor Who.
Sorry, what was the question?
I think there will be more episodes of Doctor Who.
Oh, yes, yes,
perfect,
yes.
perfect.
Coming up as well, yes. Yes.
So
I'll see the invitation.
yes.
So let's start with talking about the 13th Doctor. Last time I talked with Jonathan a little bit about it. Jacco, what is your whole opinion about the 13th Doctor?
Well, I just hope it's someone good, for starters. I don't have any preferences for gender or race or whatsoever. I think as long as they can find the right actor for the part, it doesn't really matter how the actor looks like or whatsoever. So I think because a lot of people might be focused on who's going to be the next Doctor, but I think in this case it might be even more important who's going to be the next showrunner, because that's gonna determine a big chunk of quality of the show. I think, for example, that Jodie Whittaker, as an actress, she maybe not be that much horrible, but because of the writing and somehow it doesn't. For me, I don't connect with it, and I think that's not just because of the actor, but mainly also because of the way that the show is going, the direction it's going. So I just hope that the actor that they're gonna get for the 14th Doctor is gonna be really great and can make Doctor Who great again. For me.
What do you think, Jonathan?
Yes. Yes. So we talk about the next one to come. Yes. I would agree, and I'd also agree with Jacco there about the writing in the last series for Jodie Whittaker. Yes, and that's an opinion that I've heard from a lot of people, that she was a good Doctor, and that but the writing wasn't necessarily the best. I did enjoy. There was a couple of episodes that I enjoyed of hers, and of course, I got. I don't know if people have seen the picture, but I did get to meet Jodie at when she was filming at Gloucester Cathedral. And we happened to have arrived there just as she was doing her photo shoots, so or just really having a selfie or two with her. So that was nice. Yes, I mean, I'm interested also in maybe who will become the new showrunner, and whether or not. I don't think I want the program, it may be, to become too politically correct. Maybe what it was heading in that direction. But again, as Jacko said, whoever would be the Doctor, yes, that's an interesting choice. But I I have heard a rumor that the guy who did the who was showrunner for, was it another sci-fi series called Babylon 5, was in talks with the BBC, but I'm not sure how true that is. But yes, I don't know if you know of it, but Babylon 5 was a good series, in my opinion. And so I thought that would be a good idea when I first heard it.
Okay. What do you guys think of Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor?
Yeah, so yes, as I say, we have met, and she was very nice. Yes, it was interesting to have a transgender woman, and of course, yeah, I mean, some of, as I said, some of the writing was not up to scratch. Perhaps in some cases, there were a few episodes that I enjoyed more than others, but generally, I I think I perhaps enjoyed it. I've Jacko more in the past. I think I probably enjoyed it more than he did. But yes, generally, I found it good. There was difficulty. Yes, it was, and I think particularly as I've seen her, met her, or albeit for fleetingly a couple of minutes or whatever, chat with her. It was a different connection there, perhaps, But I don't know about Jacko. What have you? Any further opinions?
Well, regarding to where Doctor Who is now, I have a very strong opinion. Um, the point is, I remember that I think it was last year. I think was when Series 12 just released. That I was like, okay. At that point, I barely finished season 11 because it didn't really interest me that much anymore. I watched until that episode with the spiders, arachnids of UK, or I'm not even
Oh
sure what the
yes.
name was. And I was like, okay. And then I didn't watch anymore. But when Series 12 finished, I was like, okay. And then I heard, of course, Captain Jack comes back, and there was something about this other Doctor, and I was like, that sounds kind of interesting. I'm curious what it is. And so, but I was like, I first need to watch season 11. So I restarted to watch season 11. And while I was watching it, I was like, it's actually not that bad. And you know what that was kind of the mood I was in while I was watching the series. I was like, it's not that bad. And you know what the worst part about that is? And I experience it still. To be honest, the past few weeks I've restarted to watch Doctor Who from Christopher Eccleston because they now stream it here on Amazon Prime finally again.
Yeah.
So and I get so much joy in watching that. It takes me away into these stories and into what's happening. And I love, for example, in the first series with Christopher Eccleston, that like what happened before in the series, like he stopped that news broadcasting thing, which later on, basically, then they say, yeah, but that's when it went wrong. So I love these spins throughout the series, and I didn't have these feelings while I was watching the recent Doctor Who, Series 11. And I was like, okay, it's not that bad, but I noticed that I started to do other things while watching it in the meantime, like check my phone, or I would go on my
Right. Yeah.
Nintendo Switch in the meantime, and that's something I've never experienced while watching Doctor Who. So, yeah, I'm making a long story out of this, but like I said, I feel a bit, I
No,
I
no.
I feel very how do you say, I have a very strong opinion on how it's going now, and like Jonathan said before, it's becoming very PC. It's not that I mind PC because I think that and PC I mean political correct. I think that a lot of people should be represented and some problems should be addressed, and I think Doctor Who is a great platform for it. But it shouldn't be the main focus of the show, and it almost feels like it's becoming the main focus of the show, which makes me feel when I watch Doctor Who and I'm like the new series, like 11 and 12, was like, oh, that was a good moment, but I can't think of good episodes. I can only think of good moments, and that's a very big difference.
Right. Yes.
I've defined the moments that are like, oh, that was actually kind of good. Oh, that was kind of clever. Oh, that was nice. But it's more like a moment. It's not that I can say, oh, I feel a strong connection. So in terms of what do I think of Jodie as the 13th Doctor, I mean, I'm not sure if it's really her fault, but I don't have any connection with her whatsoever.
Isn't that also not a little bit to blame on the writers, because they write Doctor Who as they see it, and the actor has to, in a way, comply to that?
I think it's a bit of both, because on every promo picture I see of Jodie Whittaker or the Doctor with companions, the companions somehow, and also in the series actually, they always seem like they don't like to travel with the Doctor, and I'm not sure if that's the way that they wrote things or the way that they act things. The they all like they look dead, like no emotion, like they don't care. Oh yeah, like I remember one before, like traveling with the Doctor's magical, that's special. It's like, oh wow. And that's I remember, for example, with Bill Potts, she went crazy, the first time, like, oh whoa, it was magical. And it doesn't mean that they have to see the Doctor as some kind of authority that they have to respect, because none of the companions did, especially Donna. And I love Donna, but there was a certain magical feeling that they have about traveling with the Doctor, and I don't notice that in the new series. And I think that's maybe partly because of the writing, but also in a lot of interviews, Jodie Whittaker said herself that she didn't really feel connected, or how did she say it? Like, yeah, I'm not looking to the past. Yeah, she made it seem. I mean, I can't come up with quotes. If I start to say things that she didn't actually say, then it's not nice. So I don't want to go in there. But let's say that I saw a lot of interviews that gave me the feeling that I was like, you just do this to have like a nice job, and because you worked already before with Chris Chibnall, so that's why you're here. And I'm pretty sure that now at this point she really loves the show and she really likes what she's doing, probably. But yeah, I don't feel it, so to say.
No.
Okay.
So I think it's a combination of both the writing, that's maybe like not very. I think that's maybe also because of the BBC themselves, the bosses of the BBC saying like it needs to be more like this or more like that.
Yes.
I think so, because if you look at Chris Chibnall's work on Broadchurch, that's really good. Broadchurch is a very good series. It's had also like different plot twists and things that make you think and exciting, and oh, I want to watch the next episode, and took you away, things to think about. But in Doctor Who, I don't feel that. So it could be also the executives of the BBC that are like I don't know, pulling the strings. So that's why I say, like, for the next series, like for when the 14th Doctor arrives and we get a new showrunner, I just hope that I can find that connection back again.
Well, yes.
Jacco, I have already asked this to Jonathan, so I let you answer this one first. What do you like about Doctor Who?
Yeah, the way I talk now, it seems like I don't like it at all, but that's of course not true, because I like about Doctor Who the fact that, yeah, like I said, the magical thing behind it, like beyond the doors of the TARDIS, it can be everything. They can pull the levers, end up like somewhere completely random, even if the Doctor thinks he knows where he's going, like it's something else. And I think that's brilliant. I think, and sometimes I'm like, maybe we have done, maybe everything that can happen in Doctor Who already happened, so to say. So, but on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, but you can explore so many things. You can come up with so many new things, and that's what, for me, makes Doctor Who interesting. It's like really cool but also a bit clumsy at the same time, like the kind of clumsiness of not just the Doctor, but just Doctor Who in general. Like the way that Daleks look, for example, is kind of like I would describe it as clumsy, but still, it has a certain charm to the show that I don't see in any other show, and that's why I like it so much, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And the kind of hero that the Doctor is, like I remember that Stephen Moffat said, like, yeah, they didn't give him a tank or a X-wing fighter. They gave him a police box that you can call for help. They didn't give him X-ray eyes or laser guns, but they gave him a sonic screwdriver to fix things.
Right.
And then as a superpower, they gave him an extra heart. And I think like that's really the essence of the show, and that's what makes it special. Like you can teach a lot, you can learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And can you repeat your answer, Jonathan?
So people, yes, I mean that's what I would say. I would agree with Jacco there that yeah, you can go anywhere, you can do anything. He's a very kind of relatable figure. I mean, you know, and it's good, I think, as well, having the companions or travelers, as you like, and yes, all that works well, and I think that's why people like myself and Jacco and yourself now maybe do enjoy the Doctor Who. It's fairly it's interesting. Jacco touched on the X-wing, you know. Perhaps he was venturing into the effects business and what. It's the lack. I don't know. It's something for me as well. Is the even though it's set in some of the episodes would be set on different worlds and different planets, of course. In the times when it is set on Earth, of course, we can relate to that, and so that's maybe why Earth comes along every so often. And but also, what I was going to say is it's perhaps the lack of special space effects or whatever, or not overloaded with all that kind of high tech effects, and we're used to seeing, especially in the older days, the wobbly sets and things like that, and perhaps that's part of its charm.
Yeah, I think so too. It's I don't think it's what you're seeing now, for example, with Star Wars and the other sci-fi series. It's too much blasters, there's too much sound effects, there's too much other sci-fi things, and what I really do like about Doctor Who, and I agree to that, is that it's not overloaded with too spacey things or too sci-fi things.
Yeah,
So-
they bring everything that's very sci-fi. They bring it down to let's say
like a normal level that
yes,
everyone can
exactly.
understand it.
Yeah, and that's of course also the purpose of the show, because the purpose of the show originally was, of course, to educate, and the companion would be like let's say our image. Like if the Doctor would explain something, like first he would use all this random words and this you know, real tech talk, and then later on, then the companion would look at him like, huh, and then he would like make a like simple explanation, like,
Yes,
oh, okay,
right, yes.
no, indeed,
that's
that simpleness about it, and not like that super fancy and
yeah, right.
that makes it. I think everyone can relate always in a way to the companions, and I think that also makes it special, because it actually feels like you're traveling with them, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, right. Yeah.
And I think still it's a family-related show instead of yes, just certain people who are fan of it. It's still like family-related, and of course you can like being a fan with the whole family of, for example, Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever. But I think still Doctor Who is still more family related than all those shows.
Yeah, I think so
Yes,
too.
yeah, I think you're right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
if we are looking to all of the Doctor Who series, is there still something you guys like to see back or just be in the next Doctor Who series?
I think that it would be nice to have, the classic monsters in the new series as well. Yeah, um, Cybermen and the Daleks, of course. Uh, I don't know whether Jacko would agree with me. I mean, I think you have to have some of the classic ones. It might be good as well to see some from the past that um, younger viewers may not have, or newer viewers to the show may not have seen, and then kind of relate that back to the original series. I always remember the first episode of where having trouble remembering, so I won't go on. But I always like the episodes which they relate to previous episodes. Like, for instance, if they have an episode with Cyberman in, and then you may get quotations back to earlier adventures, and people might think, who are watching it, oh, what was all that about then? I'll have to find out a bit more about that. But then again, you also need, I think, newer monsters, perhaps, or newer enemies, whatever, that um, the present generation who are watching it can relate to. Yes, so probably a mixture of both. What do you think, Jacko?
I agree. Like a lot of monsters, for example, to return, but also what I miss, and I've always said that. I said that even oh, sorry, I said it already when Peter Capaldi was still the Doctor, and even when Matt Smith was the Doctor. I wish we would get more of a glimpse of some of the old companions, like once in a while. Like I loved in when the Doctor was traveling with Donna, that all of a sudden he gets a call from Martha, being like, "Yeah, Doctor, there's a
Right,
thing that you
yes.
need to come and check out." I'm like, why don't any of the other companions? I know that Amy and Rory, for example, that's out of the question, because they are stuck in New York. But like, or Donna, she doesn't remember. But for example, Martha, I remember that in the end of David Tennant's era, you saw that she was together with Mickey, that they were
Oh,
about to
yes.
getting married or something. They were attacked by Sontaran. But I would wish, or I would like to see, like, for example, them back. I mean, now with, of course, the whole controversy with Noel Clarke, I'm not sure if we should want to have him back in the show.
Right.
But it's just an example, of course. Yeah, Rose is back is in another parallel universe. But also, like, companions of the classic series, like Ace, for example, like
Yes, yes, right.
what happened with her, or Grace from the TV movie. Like, those are some examples that I'm like, yo, I would like to see more of those people. Like, just bring them like in once in a while, or reference them a bit more, maybe. Um, like I liked, for
Yes, that's
example,
true.
and
Yes.
like for example with okay, yeah, with Jodie Whittaker, I liked when Jack Harkness came back, and it didn't
Yeah.
feel forced. Like, okay, maybe they put him in to let people be interested in Doctor Who anymore, because for me it clearly worked. But still, the way they reintroduced him was actually pretty clever. I loved that scene where Graham was laying there on the floor, and Jack kissed him because Jack thought that Graham was the Doctor. So that was fun, and also in the
Right. Yes. Yes.
and also in the New Year's. I almost want to say Christmas episode. Also,
Yeah. Right.
which is something they should also bring back, the Christmas episodes. But the New Year's in the New Year's episode where Jack came back, and Jack was of course referencing a lot of the old companions and stuff because, he experienced that. But that's what I like. I'm like, Doctor Who has such a rich history. Like if they would bring more of those things back, not just like, oh look, here's the Daleks again. Yeah, okay, we
Right,
get
yes.
it. The Daleks are part of Doctor Who. Oh, here's the Cybermen again. Oh, here's the most popular creature from the most popular monster from the new
Yes,
era of
right,
Doctor Who, which is
yes.
the Whipping Angels are back. Ah, hey.
Yes, I know. Yes. Yes.
So of course, because that's not real big surprises.
Mm.
But for if they bring back monsters, then I would like to see like also like either reinvent them, like what they did with the Paradigm Daleks, for example.
Yes.
Of course, not
Okay.
everyone felt very strong about that, but then also sometimes bring back old ones. I remember in what was it? The Magician's Apprentice with Peter
Oh, yes,
Capaldi.
yes, right.
That then they're on Skaro, and you see also like classic Daleks rolling around. I thought that was
Yes,
so cool
that's
to see
true.
like the original 1963 Daleks like just in the rolling around there. Nobody asks questions like why do they
Yeah,
look different. They're like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's also Daleks. And there was, I believe, also a special weapons Dalek in the background. I think those little nods to the past are so nice.
Yes, yes,
But,
yes.
So I
That's
hope
right.
they bring those things back, of course.
Yes.
And what else? There was something else. No, I don't know. I had something
So,
else before in my mind, like, oh, that also, but I forgot.
you actually reminded me then, Jacko, when I was trying to think of the name. Can you believe it that I've forgotten the name briefly of Peter Capaldi? But when the first episode aired and there was the dinosaur, and so all of that was relatable as well for me. And I agree with you about Jack Harkness. Yes, it was
Yeah,
good to see him. Yes, relate to the past.
yeah,
Relate to the past in that way. Yes, yeah, and the companions are always yes, nice to have references to the old ones as well. Yeah, and all to do with past connections, and yeah.
So, if you guys would be the writers of the new storyline of Doctor Who, what would you write it?
I think because I live in
Storyline
Netherlands.
wise, then.
Sorry.
Storyline wise.
Oh yeah, storyline wise, yeah. I would. I mean, I'm not a writer, so I'm not that good at it. But I would, first of all, I would make like a story arc. I loved in previous Doctor Who, so in series 12 and series 11, that didn't really do it. But I liked it before. It was always like some kind of story arc. Like I remember when the whole anticipation towards Missy being in the vault, or even like way before, like with Bad Wolf, for example. Like all those things I thought were very clever. So I would reinstate something like that, leading up to a big finale. But yeah, well, if I would become the new writer of Doctor Who, the first thing I would do is explain that the whole timeless child thing was just the master making it up. That it's
Right.
not,
Yes.
that didn't happen. William Hartnell is still the first Doctor. That's it. That's the end of it. And
Right.
then,
I see what you mean. Yes. Yes.
and then maybe I would cast Jo Martin as the 14th Doctor. That she was actually the future of the Doctor all along, rather than the past. That would be actually clever. And I think she would be a great Doctor. Nevertheless, as term of a story, I think I would make a story around Anne Frank. because
Yes,
that's also
that
a
would
bit
be
of my
good.
of my Dutch side, of course, coming out. So yeah, I think something around Anne Frank would be really interesting.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
And in
Now
then
that's
of telling story wise, or just like a totally different, maybe a time traveler?
no, like actually show like one episode that's based in Amsterdam when she was living there.
Hmm.
Like they could like invent something. I'm not a historian, so maybe I say something weird, but that the doctor gave her the diary in the end, or something like that. Like they shouldn't make it too much heavy about the fact that they were, of course, hiding and stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
yes. That would
Yeah.
that would be good. Yes, I've actually I didn't go in, but on one of my visits to Amsterdam, I was taken by Steve to walk past Anne Frank's house, and it was good to see that. And yes, I mean I've been you can say, I don't know whether you can say you're a fan or whatever you are, but I've I've had an interest because I remember seeing ages ago um, a documentary about her, and we actually in the last scene of that we saw one of the few glimpses of her actually that's supposedly around. So yes, that would be a good one. Of course, Amsterdam is. I don't think. Well, it has been featured in at least one other Doctor Who
Yeah, in
adventure, and I
Arc of
know there
Divinity.
are tours available, or I think, or location wise, there were spots available that you can see. And when I was there, I remember Jacco actually pointed out a couple of places where things happened, and I would say, "Oh yes, I remember that scene from there," and that was great. Yes, yes, yes. It's good to see where these places are because, of course, I live in Cardiff, and I've done the same with him. I've said this is where this was done and whatever. So it's nice that we can say, well, part of it's been filmed in our hometown. So
Yeah.
yes, that's nice.
So, do
Yes.
you have any vision about that, Jonathan? How would you
Um.
like? What do you like to have
Yes.
written in the new
Yeah.
series?
Uh, well, yes. I mean, again, I think with Jacko, there's a good idea of linking series of stories, perhaps, into an arc. That's always quite interesting. We've had. I quite enjoyed. I don't know. Yes, the Trial of a Time Lord was back in the Colin Baker days, um, and they were actually and the Time Lords were having this trial or mock trial of the Doctor, and that worked quite well. I think there was some um, there were some stories of Peter Davidson, Peter Davison, that were also linked. I know maybe only maybe only a couple of stories were linked in that way. We've had um, Kinder and Snake Dance there, of course, which were linked stories. Um, you had, which I thought was a very interesting one. You had the oh, in only the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton's story, the War Games, that took you to various battlefields, which I don't know if they were historically accurate battlefields and things, but they certainly looked as if they were with the uniforms and that of the past. And I mean, there's also been other doctors and other histories of linked stories. Yeah, so I think that's good to keep the viewer wondering, well, how does this fit in with that, and then find it all at the end. Not to make it too complicated, though. I think that perhaps in the past, I can't put my finger on a story now, but in the past, I think they've had these linked stories, but with very kind of either tenuous links, or you really had to pay attention to detail there. I don't know if I think Doctor Who should be, in inverted commas, an easy watch. I don't know, but I don't think it should be too much trouble either, if you know what I mean. I think that Anne Frank, though, is a character who, yes, would work well for a Doctor Who story there.
Okay, nice. So this is a cheeky question for you guys. Who is the best Doctor Who?
The question is who is the best Doctor Who? But that kind of depends on what you mean with the best. Like in terms of acting, or in terms of stories, or
I think what I mean is in general, just what is your, who is your favorite Doctor Who, or in, it can be everything.
okay. Well, it's an interesting question always, of course, because that's one of the first questions that you always ask to Doctor Who fans or Whovians, like, who's your favorite Doctor? But for me, I've always said everyone for me is the Doctor. Jodie Whittaker maybe a bit less than the rest, but for me. But no, everyone, I think, because every Doctor is different. And I realized that also just now when I rewatch again and I see Christopher Eccleston, that I'm like, wow, he's brilliant. And then you see David Tennant, and David Tennant is like the complete opposite of Christopher Eccleston, but still very good also, and also very brilliant. And so I like all the Doctors from what I've seen. And like I said, Jodie Whittaker maybe a bit less than the rest. Yeah, then in other times I'm like, oh, Matt Smith is really good, and yeah. So they all have the reasons why they could be the best Doctor. But in terms of the person that I'm like, that might be the best, or the one that fits the role the best, I would say Peter Capaldi. That man has been fan ever since when Doctor Who started. He's a great actor, and he put so much love into the role and into the fans also. Yeah, I think for that, I think that he is maybe the best Doctor in a way. But that doesn't mean that the other Doctors are less in any way. It's more like based on how he is as a person, I guess.
As you say, Jacco, Peter Capaldi was very good, very good. To anybody who's listening and wondered wondered about ages. Yeah, I'm a little bit older than everybody else, and so I am referencing probably more than would be old. I'm referencing older Doctors, and relate better to what I would call classic Who. Some people say it's just a continuation, of course. I mean, so I would divide it up, in my kind of opinion or whatever, to classic and new Who. Not really saying that either one is better than the other, but that's the way it works for me to kind of classify things. And so for me, in that moment, and I would have to say John Pertwee, because John Pertwee was the Doctor who I grew up with, really, and watched originally. Um, and Jacco mentioned before about scenes, particular scenes that have lived on. And one of the most memorable scenes for me was in the early days anyway, was an episode called The Sea Devils. And you have the sea devils emerging from the water. And so that was a memorable scene for me. And then I think that's what John Pertwee, it was he who got me into Doctor Who, really, I think. And then, of course, being people along the way. And because I'm my fault, I expect that I don't watch classic. I don't watch as much New Who as I perhaps should, in inverted commas, because when I do, I think to myself, "Oh yeah, it was very good," or that scene was particularly good in that. So yeah, so maybe I should begin to watch New Who more again. I think for me, the one story that I have enjoyed quite a lot and might be my favorite one in what I call New Who was the episode called Dalek, when you were just concentrating on one Dalek, and that was because the action was fairly limited and the conversations were fairly limited there. Perhaps that's what held my attention there. But yes, that was a particularly memorable one for me.
So, I'm going to do a little fun question now, just to break everything up. Um, if we would have a Doctor Who quiz between the two of you, who will win this quiz?
I would say Jonathan is gonna win. Because
Well,
to be honest, I didn't watch that much of the. I mean, it depends on the questions. If it's about New Who, then I'm pretty sure I would make a good chance. But if it's
yes,
also
yes,
like, if it's questions also about Classic Who, I didn't see everything of that. So I then for sure Jonathan is gonna
yes, yes.
win.
I would probably agree there. Um, Jack was more likely to get the New Who ones, and I'm perhaps more likely to get the classic ones. I think as well, Jack was probably more able to answer more questions based upon uh, the showrunners, the writers, and things like that. So fairly equal, but yeah, we'll see what whatever questions you decide to put, because I can feel, I can hear that you got maybe a quiz in mind around the first.
Yeah, let's
And
do it.
so yes, yes.
Yeah, I thought it would be a nice question in between. So, if you could choose of every great actor in the world, who would be your ultimate fantasy wise to play Doctor Who?
That's a good question.
Yes, indeed. Great. Yes. I think the person that is keep coming back to me, and I'm probably not going to remember his name now. That's the trouble. Um, Perhaps Jacko will be able to, or you, Rinda, will be able to
I'll help you.
remind me. The guy who was in Death in Paradise, and they thought he'd quit that because he was going to be the new Doctor. Phil. God, there was a
Oh,
rumor that he was going.
Chris Marshall.
Yes.
Ah,
Now, though, yes, well done, Jacko. You now,
I'm gonna be
I
honest.
know
I googled.
he's not perhaps he's not perhaps a big name actor. Well, he might be in some people's eyes, but I think if he played it like he plays other characters, I'm thinking he was in a series called, I don't know if you know this, either of you, but he was, so he's got this kind of comedic as well. And I think it wouldn't be too over the top, but might be so, because of probably all the rumors that have been going around. Oh, is he going to be the new one now? He No, he wasn't. Is he going to be the new one now? That his name has come to the fore, even though I couldn't remember it then.
At least
Yes,
the doctor will be Ginger then.
yes,
Finally,
uh,
because he's a bit ginger, right?
yes. That's right.
So, and who will be
Um,
yours, Jacco?
There are a few options I can think of. Like I said before, I think Joe Martin. So that's the thing, right? When Joe Martin was in that episode and we found out, okay, she's the fugitive doctor or whatsoever. I was like, she portrays the doctor better than Jodie Whittaker does. In that feeling, I had way more connection with Joe Martin as the doctor than Jodie Whittaker, and you know that then there's something not good. So yeah, so
right, yeah.
I would gladly welcome Joe Martin as the new doctor, especially if she's going to be the 14th doctor, and then the whole timeless child thing becomes obsolete, like retconned. However, I don't know the name of the actor out of my head. I'm gonna Google it in the meantime because I'm watching a new show called or not a new show, but I started to watch Merlin.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Love that one.
yeah, it's really good, and it's with Colin Morgan, yes, as Merlin, and I think he does a really good job. He's quirky, he's funny, but also heroic in a way. He reminds me in a lot of moments a bit of Matt Smith. So of course the risk of that is that he looks too much like Matt Smith. Also the ears, but
Oh, yeah.
I remember I was watching with my girlfriend and I was saying to her like, oh, this guy would actually be really good as the doctor. So yeah. Apart from that, like in general, I hope that the new the new actor, I always think like it should be like a really good actor, but an actor we don't really know from anything else. Like that you have to look it up. Like, oh yeah, he played in that. Oh yeah, we know, but not like for a lot of people are always saying like, yeah,
Right.
Tom Hiddleston, or oh, it should be Daniel Radcliffe. I'm like, or Benedict Cumberbatch, or I don't know. And then I'm always like, yeah, but those people did like really great, recognizable
Yes.
roles already.
Yes.
I don't want them to become the
Yeah.
doctor because then you can associate it easily with other things. I think it's nicer to have the other way around, so they are not that much known, then they become the
Yeah.
doctor, but
Right.
really
Yeah.
good in the
Perhaps so.
role,
Yes.
and then it opens doors for them. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, with David Tennant, before Doctor Who, he did the biggest he did, I think, was Harry Potter and Casanova, and then he became the doctor, and then after that, like he did so many things, um, and he did it really well also. Also, Matt Smith, I think before Matt Smith went on Doctor Who, he also wasn't that big of an actor, but still they did a really good job because you had no associations. And when I started to watch Jodie Whittaker, I had associations with her from Broadchurch, because in Broadchurch she played the mother of the boy, and yeah, she annoyed me a lot. So I had a lot of associations of that with her when she became the doctor. But yeah, and then the whole thing was disappointing for me. So
Yes.
yeah, long story short, I hope that the new doctor is gonna be a not too much recognizable actor. Like of course it's fine if it had a main role in another series, but Not like Tom Hiddleston. I think it's too big.
So we
Yeah, Orinda, are you still here? Did you fall asleep?
Oh, sorry.
Was
No,
my
no,
ans-
no, no.
was my answer too long?
we
No.
look
She walked away. It was like,
No.
never mind.
No, our neighbors upstairs are decorating, and it's a little bit loud, so I put my mic off. Well,
Oh yeah, I heard the poltergeist before already, like the banging. It's like, oh, maybe it's a poltergeist.
dear. Dear.
um,
We look forward to see who it is anyway. Yes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yes, indeed.
so we already talked a little bit about the sidekicks of the Doctor. What do you guys think about the sidekicks?
Yes. I mean, I've got a friend, Lauren, who is a very big fan of Peter Davison, and I think that combination of assistants, sidekicks, whatever you like to call them, worked well in his day. I think he had some good companions there. Yes, and they all, as we've said before, they all add something to it. And then, as Jacco said, it was like us, maybe the Doctor explaining to us as he explains to them what the answer to the question was, or what the Doctor's talked about. They've in the early days anyway, they were particularly the female lead, female assistants were sometimes a bit screamy and, oh no, this is happening, and and people got and I know that people got related to that. If you Wendy Bradbury in who was Zoe with Patrick Troughton, said that when she first went in, she was intellectually compared to the Doctor, and was a fairly serious in relation to him. But in the end, she too became a bit of a screamer. But I suppose that if there's a monster suing you, you would scream. So in the defense, no, that's probably in the case of the more recent ones, where and I can't remember this. This one was very early for me. If they've been in other things, like I can never remember names of people. Jacco, maybe you could help me again, or Arinda. The name of the meddling monk in the classic Doctor Who. Anyway,
I have no idea.
No, okay.
I've heard of the meddling monk, but that's about it.
Okay, well, there was this character called the meddling monk, and when I found out that he was also in the Carry On films that we have in Britain, I don't know if you're familiar with them, Jacco or Arinda. There was a lot of Ealing comedies called Carry On this, Carry On that, and it was all a bit kind of comedic and near the knuckle kind of humor or whatever. But when I see him, like when I saw that he played that character, that's all I could do. Whenever I saw him now, I laugh. I think of that. The same with, I'm afraid, Bradley Walsh in the series just gone, because I know that he's currently a game show host, or that's his main thing that he does. I still can't really, even though he had some good scenes and good lines and everything, I still see him formerly as a game show host. I'm afraid I don't know whether Jacko's got any opinions about that or anything else along the companion line.
Yeah, well, I always think that companions are a great reflection of ourselves in the show, and I am, but in a way, what I miss, because the companions are always like current current time earthly girls, or sometimes also guys. So I would love to see like maybe like a companion that's from the past, like from, let's say, 20 or 30 years ago, and then that has a completely different look on the travels,
Right, yes.
and maybe together with a present time companion,
Mm.
or even an alien. Like, why should it be like always someone from Earth, the companion? Like, let it be someone from a different planet.
Yes. And I'll just interject here, and I don't know whether you've seen any of those at all, Jacko, but there was a series called the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that I've actually recently been watching again because it's come on to Bitbox over here, and there were some companions like that, even though the stories were kind of a shorter format and a shorter arc. Yeah, so I was quite impressed with that, and there was an alien that was the basis of yeah. So um, that was hinted at and done in some ways in that series. Yeah, yes, that would be good. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have BritBox here, so I can't watch the Sarah Jane
Right.
Adventures,
No.
unfortunately.
No. No. But it was good. Yes. Sorry, I interrupted you. Really, what were you going to say anymore?
No, that was it.
No. Okay.
All right, I still have one more question for you guys.
Oh.
What episode of episodes you recommend the listeners to watch again?
Do you want to take this one first, Jacko?
Yeah, sure. You mean like for people that never watched Doctor Who before, and you have to recommend one episode to learn about Doctor Who?
Yeah, but also for people who do know Doctor Who and completely forgot about it.
Oh, okay. Well, for the people that completely forgot about it, I would recommend watching the first episode of series 6. Was I don't remember, but it was with the silence, because clearly they can relate to forgetting things. And now
Pretty
I always,
Yako.
to new people in general. I think that Blink, the episode where the Weeping Angels were introduced, I think that's such a brilliant episode. And the weird thing is that the Doctor is not that much in it, so but I like the story of itself, and because it explains, of course, like the whole time travel thing, and like time is not a straight line, and all these kind of things, and you don't get too much. It doesn't show you too much of the Doctor. So if you have never watched Doctor Who, yeah, I mean, I always say start from the beginning, start with episode Rose, and then carry on, and before you know it, you start to cry and blah blah. But if people say, I just want to watch one episode just to see if it's something for me, I would say instantly Blink. Then watch Blink, because it has a bit of everything. It has humor, it has a bit of the scary parts, it explains about alien life forms, it explains about time travel, and it's also Doctor Who at its finest with a quirky machine. So
Yes. That was that was a good one. Yes. And indeed, uh, they the Weeping Angels did did feature, uh, as did many other characters in the Doctor Who experience part of the Doctor Who experience when it was on in Cardiff. So yes, that
Yeah.
was yes, which you've been to many times,
Oh
Jacko.
yeah,
So that's good.
countless
Yes,
times. 6 times in
yeah,
total.
yeah. Excellent, excellent. It's we can bemoan the fact that it's gone, but I'm afraid it is gone now. But indeed, it's worth mentioning, Arinda, that that's how Jacko and I linked up in the first place, and that's how I linked up with a lot of people actually from the Netherlands who were frequent visitors to the place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the closing year of the Doctor Who experience, we went 3 times with
right.
a bus full of Dutch Whovians to go to Cardiff to experience the Doctor Who, to go to the Doctor Who experience. And I think it was the last time we went when we met you, right, Jonathan?
Yes, yes,
On the last day of the Doctor Who experience,
yeah.
we went
I
with
think so.
80,
Yes,
with
yeah,
I think it was 80 people in a bus full to Cardiff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was and after, I remember in the end of the day we watched, I think was the series finale of
Yes,
season 10.
yes. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
was either the
those.
season finale or the one before. No, it was the season finale. Yeah,
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 those.
in the pub. Good
Yes,
memories.
they were the days. Yes, yes, yes. I remember.
That's great to hear, guys. So, I'm going to ask this question to Jacco first. How big of a fan base is there in the Netherlands?
Oh,
Cause you
it's
already
quite
said yes.
yeah, it's quite big actually. I can look it up. We have a Dutch Time Traveler Association, which is the let's say the official Doctor Who fan group in the Netherlands.
I've
I mean,
actually
it's
been to a couple of events there.
yes, exactly. We also have always the Doctor Who gathering. Let's see, the group at this moment, the page counts 100, no, sorry, 1,100 likes, as far as I can see now. And the group is, oh yeah, also more or less 1,000 people. So let's say that just based on that group, there are at least more than 1,000 Doctor Who fans in the Netherlands. And the Netherlands is a small country. We have, I think, like 17 million citizens. But yeah, but it's growing a lot, especially since 2014 until 2019. Like in those years, it exploded a lot, the fandom, because I remember before, like, not many people knew about it, and now at least a lot of people in the Netherlands, they can say, oh yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah, I never really watched it, but yeah. So yeah, the it's becoming bigger and bigger, which is good. And now it's back on Amazon Prime, so now it can get even more big.
And what do you think how it is here in the UK, Jonathan?
Yes, I think there's a quite a big fan base. Again, I don't know, but from the Facebook point of view, I don't know if all of these are UK based, of course, but there are lots of different Facebook groups. I get the impression that it's still fairly big. I see people, for instance, buying Doctor Who related stuff, and that's still. I don't know if it's quite as big as it was. I think the viewing figures. Well, again, this probably has to do with. I think the viewing figures for the Jodie Whittaker series just gone have been down. I'm not sure, but again, yeah, I think that from what I know, it's a fairly big scene, and we always get. There's been a couple of UK conventions recently. There's been a day convention called Hooverville, which I understand is quite well attended. There's been also another event I know of at one of the motorpoint arenas around the country, so that's a large capacity as well. The event that I've been to for a couple of years in a row, we've had a break recently because of the COVID outbreak, was the Capitol, and that's based in Gatwick in London, and that's had a few years off because of COVID concerns, but we're still hoping for it to be in 2022, so hopefully next year. But and we'll no doubt to all these conventions we've had. We'll have a few foreign visitors as well. For instance, this event that I've been to in the capital was might have been, I'm not sure, might have been the first time that I'd met a lady called Christine, who I'm now good friends with, and Jacco knows her as well, and she's a member also of the Dutch Time Travelers Association. Has been to their events. So we the last time I went, in fact, to the gathering, which was in the Netherlands, and was a day about Doctor Who. A lot of the microphone stage dialogue was in Dutch, but it didn't really matter to me because I knew what they were on about. And so, rather than again, I think rather than thinking of how is it over here, how is it over there, we've all one worldwide thing. I mean, for instance, in America, I understand these conventions, Doctor Who conventions, are very, very popular. So I think it's no matter where you are in the world, as we started off saying, no matter where you are in the world, you can say, and if you're a fan of anything, but in this particular instance, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, you can say, do you remember the episode of this or whatever? And you can start talking about that. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of people together.
Yes.
Well, I do think that's with all the conventions and events for a certain fandom, it's always bring those people together. And that's what I have experienced with, for example, when I go to a convention or event. It's always people who will accept you for who you are and what you are wearing or what you like or whatever. And it's not very, you will not, for example, buy bullied by it because you like it.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
no.
That's the good thing about cosplay and going to conventions. Indeed, I remember the first time I went here in the Netherlands to a Renaissance fair. Elfia. I think you also know it.
Yeah, I do. It was last weekend.
Yes.
Did you go there, Jacco, or not?
Sorry?
I've heard of it. Yes. And
Did you go there?
Yeah, I always go to Elfia. It's actually this weekend. It's in Arsen in Limburg in the south of the Netherlands, but it's a bit too far from me. But yeah, I always notice that people there are so kind, and especially when I went there the first time. When I was younger, I was bullied in school, so I was always a bit like trying to blend in. And then when I was there, I was like, wow, everyone is just themselves. They just do their thing, and
yeah,
they
I always say, if you aren't in cosplay, you're the weird duck in there. Then.
Yes.
Almost, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. I always, a lot of people, they ask me always like, how does how does it feel? Why do you go to these conventions or fairs? And I say, well, just go and experience. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
unexplainable.
But
Yeah.
Alfia is one of the special thing I think, because I remember Alfia was my first fantasy and medieval event that I go to, and I was thinking, and that was not even I was in cosplay or whatever, but I just went by myself, and I was thinking, oh wow, I'm coming home. This is it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I always told my fiance, okay, as soon as we can go to the Netherlands, we have to go to Alfie. You're gonna like that.
Yeah. Well, April 2022 then.
No, excellent. Excellent. Yes, it would be nice if we all could get there. Yes, yes.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be nice, because April is also my birthday, so it will be nice
right,
to visit
yes.
my parents then. But we will see how
Yes.
England will go with COVID and Europe will go with COVID. So
Yes.
fingers crossed.
Yes. Indeed. Yes.
Well, it should be going the right way now. I mean,
Yeah.
people are getting vaccinated, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, guys, it was nice talking to you. And thank you for joining me. And till another time.
Yes, I hope so. Yes.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was nice. Also, was nice to speak to you again, Jonathan.
Thank
And,
you. Yes, and the same to you. Yes.
Yep. And of course, thanks to all the loyal listeners, of course.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And Arinda for hosting. Yes. Very nice.
Yes, and thank you, Orinda, for hosting. It was
Yeah,
really
well,
nice.
thank you, boys, too, because this is exactly what I like to do. We just talk about fantasy and sci-fi, and that's the reason why I have this podcast. And I really love the conversations we have. Well, thank you, listeners, to listening to this podcast. I try to be the first as much as I can, and I hope you guys like it. Tell me what you think on how I'm doing with this podcast. If you have any tips for me how I can do things better, let me know. Bear in mind, I make this podcast for fun and I don't have to make money out of it. You can reach out on Podbean, the Facebook group, the YouTube channel, and the Discord server of Orinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. And we also have a Twitter account at OTSASP. If you like to talk about this episode or want to comment on this episode, you can reach out on Podbean, the Facebook group, the YouTube channel, and the Discord server of Orinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi, and on Twitter at OTFASP. Orinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi is also listen, follow and subscribe on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and the YouTube channel. I'm your host Orinda. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. The next episode we will talk about is Quantum Leap.